So, I was recently doing a thought experiment, and this thought experiment involved money. So, I was reading the scripture in the Passion Translation. It was talking about not storing up treasures, here on earth, but storing up treasures in heaven. And so, the thought experiment is, what if you were, let's say you had a debit card for all your expenses, but you could never save or keep any money for yourself. You didn't own any money or assets. You just used this debit card from your benefactor. You purchased whatever you needed. So there was never any drama around if there's something you needed, you just bought it. It wasn't a problem. But you couldn't, the things you had, as in your house and your car and your clothes, none of it actually reflected on your personal achievements or accomplishments. And you didn't really have a bank account. There was no money to attach your self worth to. The only thing you had was just access to somebody else's money for whenever you needed it. And when I got to thinking about it, it's like, well, that really removes like the ego component of money. Like when I was growing up, my parents encouraged us to, we would save most of our money. At least any money, pretty much that went into our bank accounts, we pretty much saved. And I think my brother maybe bought some photography equipment, but most of us mostly just saved it because that's kind of what they expected. They expected us to, if let's say we sold some livestock and made some money, which they would help, they would maybe cover some of the expenses that, or for whatever, for those projects. So we were able to save a little bit of money in the bank account. But they until we were 21, they were gonna cover basically our expenses, and we were gonna save our own money. So anything we needed, especially once we got to working age where we're spending hours on the farm, we're in the youth group, we're going around eating out and whatever. Like pretty much anything I needed, pretty much they would pay for. I don't remember there being a lot of objection. Like if I went out to eat with my buddies or something, it wasn't like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. It was like, fine. I just turned in the list of expenses to my mom or whatever, and she'd reimburse me or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it was. Um, so, but so in a way, this thought experiment would be kind of like going back to my childhood. Of like, I wasn't. While it is true that I did accumulate a little bit of money, there wasn't, for the most part, there wasn't any ego or self worth attached to money. It was like if you needed something, as long as you get my parents to agree to buy it, that's all I needed, and that's all it was. There was nothing else really with it, basically. So, anyway, I think you can make the argument that that is closer to how we should view our money. That God does provide for our needs like a father, but Jesus is very clear about what kind of, I say very clear that earthly treasure is not to be stored up. Now, I'm just thinking, like, seems like we usually come up with some kind of caveats and workarounds for that. And maybe Proverbs has some balance there, whatever. But on the whole, if you just take the teaching of Jesus at face value, it's like, nah, don't store up treasure here. Store it up somewhere where it lasts better, and somewhere where you want your heart to be also.